Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy the D here, aka the Ultimate Dragon Slayer. Coming at you with a Monster Hunter Rise discussion video. Alright, so it's been about 3 weeks to the day because I had to actually get my copy of Monster Hunter Rise until March 27th. That's the Saturday after. Reason being, well, that's actually the reason why we're having a discussion video. I got some thoughts, so pretty much stayed up till 2 o'clock last night. Don't know how I did it. It did not feel like it was that late. I didn't know it'd been that long. I thought it only been like an hour. Because like I started playing like 9 o'clock, and then when I looked, it was like 12 something. But anyway, so I finally about 12:30 today, which would be April 17th, about 12:30 or so, finally fought and beat the final Elder Dragon of the game. So technically, I beat what we have, and now I think I want to speak on it. I was gonna do this video like after a week or 2 weeks, but I kind of decided to hold off on that because I don't know, I at least want to give the game the benefit of beating it prior to actually, speaking about it. So in this and let me just preface this is not a review, this is just my initial thoughts. I don't think I'm gonna do game reviews. I wanted to do a game review on the game I played, but I was like, I don't know, like, scales and whatnot. But anyway, last video I did was my final thoughts pre-release. So I kind of like, I'd heard a couple of reviews, some people talking about it, vaguely, because at that point I think it was like an embargo, like, hey man, don't spoil the game for people. So I know Agrex had talked about it, and IGN had did their review. Yet again, you gotta take these reviews with a grain of salt, because no review is objective. They are subjective. They are subject to the perspective from which they come. And at that point, I was just... Anyway, I was just waiting on, to see for myself, because at least if I wanted to at least pass some judgment on the game, I want it to be at least my own personal judgment. But anyway, yeah, that's just my initial thoughts going in. But before we really get into the meat and potatoes of my thoughts, I just want to say thank you to everybody who subscribed, thank you to everybody who watches. I really appreciate y'all. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. If you got an opposing opinion or you agree, comment, subscribe if you want to hear more, and check out some of my other videos. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. My thoughts on Monster Hunter Rise. Alright, now before I get into my initial thoughts, well, my not final thoughts, but the thoughts that I have currently, let me be clear, I am gonna talk about spoilers, but that's gonna be later, and there's gonna be a warning. But I am gonna talk about, I'm pretty much gonna talk about how I feel about the game in its current state now. It should be noted, like I said, it's April 17th today, which is being recorded, so we have a couple of some stuff that's supposed to be added in a couple of weeks. Well, like next week or week after. April's almost over. It's only got 30 days. We got 13 more days from the add this shit. I know Apex Rathalos, Chameleos, and quote-unquote several other monsters, which are probably going to be majority, if not all, Apex forms. So, and then, apparently, to be determined, 3.0 is supposed to be the finished game. Like, it's supposed to be a new ending, because, yet again, before I get into heavy spoilers, kind of my overarching thought of this game isn't done. And I'll go ahead and say this, the reason why I didn't get the game till the day after, because I didn't pay full price for it. I pretty much got it at Walmart for $10 off. Something within me could not justify paying for an unfinished game. Look, I'm not gonna disparage Capcom. They've made some great games, Monster Hunter games, of course, but this one, it's not done. This is pretty much like when you got some good ass food and you go to heat it up, heat your leftovers, and you get to your room, there's steam coming from the food, but when you put your fork in it in the middle, it's still cold. This big game ain't done, but I'm gonna get to that. But I'm gonna talk about like everything about the game, at least as much as I can. I'm gonna start with like aesthetics, then monster roster, you know, some of the mechanical things. Yet again, I'm not like a super competitive, I don't understand how you can be competitive in Monster Hunter. You don't compete. It's more cooperative, but fuck it, whatever. There's a metagame. And then ending, story, and shit like that. Yeah, like aesthetic and shit will be with like presentation. But let's go ahead and get into it. And I'm gonna start with presentation. That RE engine is a motherfucking beast. Like, this is a Switch game. And I think, unless I'm mistaken, because I got like over 20 Switch games, this may quite possibly be the best looking game I have on my system, bar none. Like I said, Mario Odyssey looks great. Fire Emblem Three Houses wasn't that great to look at. It was a good game in some respects, but the graphics, you know, weren't always the best. Let me see, what else do I have? Origami King was a good looking game, I'll give it that. Some other problems. Hell, even Octopath Traveler, Breath of the Wild, and even Bravely Default 2, all good looking games. But I think that the RE engine on Switch has kind of proven that the Switch is underpowered, that people don't know how to use it, but that's a completely separate argument for a completely separate video. But the game looks great. Like, as far as graphically, I've heard some people talk about the particle effects. I've had no problems yet, really. Although I will say that last night, during one of the quote unquote ending cutscenes, when they get up close to the people, their skin looks like chainmail. It's kind of like if the camera is a certain distance away from the models, everything looks great. When it kind of starts to zoom in, that's when, you know, it looks like, you know, the textures on the wireframes kind of come out, and it's weird. Like, if you're looking on the screen right now, I'm gonna try to find that footage and put it on here so you can see it. But if you're playing the game, you've probably already noticed. But for the most part, the game does look great. Like I said, it's when the camera kind of gets on the models, the shit kind of gets funky. And I'm talking about people. At least with the monsters, from what I've seen, even though, you know, you might take a picture of a monster or something like that, looks great, looks fine. But yeah, one of the cutscenes I did notice that. But remember, I'm almost 70 hours in, and that's the first time I noticed it. So I'm like I said, this isn't a review. I'm not gonna dock the game for that. It's like, might need to tighten that shit the fuck up. But yeah, the RE engine has proven that, yeah, the game looks great. And even like, from like a technical standpoint, the way it runs, I haven't had any frame rate drops. I haven't had any weird shit, like, you know, T-poses or anything like that. I don't think anybody has. At least from what I'm coming up with off the top of my head, Capcom is normally pretty. They're normally pretty good about make sure their games aren't broken, at least in recent memory. Like, if there's a game that wasn't, you know, properly tested and it was broken, I didn't know about it. But yeah, the game looks great. The aesthetic, the Japanese aesthetic, I'm not gonna lie, like when I first saw it, I was like kind of whatever. And even to this day, I'm not either for or against it, but it works. Like when you get into Komura Village, you really, like, it feels Japanese. Like, one thing I've noticed is all the Monster Hunters have felt, for the most part, Western. The only other one that was kind of like this would be Portable Third, which we never got in the West. You know, with Yukimo Village as the main place, well, as the hub, as the locale, the main setting of the game. So yeah, and that one I never played, but this, you know, you can tell this is a very Japanese inspired Monster Hunter. And I remember watching some reaction videos like of like Japanese YouTubers, and you know people, you know, like, oh, this is Japanese Monster Hunter. This is, like I said, for the most part they've been Western. I know 3U, well, 1 and 2 from what I've known, those are some of the only like mainline games that I haven't played. Those games, they like, from what I've seen, they're really Western. Then Monster Hunter 3 is, like I said, aside from Portable Third, 3 Try, and 3U, they had kind of a tribal aspect to it, because Moga Village, being a seaside village, hunter fisher type shit, and it was really tribal. I could say that one. But then 4 and 4U, they were really Western, like European kind of, even with the varied environments in that game, which was dope. And then even extended for the fourth generation, Generations Ultimate, you had multiple towns you could go to, but even their hub, well, their main place was for the most part really Western. So I understand like the Japanese, they were really excited, and I can tell like you could tell oh, because even though Monster Hunter is a Japanese and Eastern game, it's always been kind of it's always like had like a kind of a Western aesthetic to it. I mean, when you essentially get like long swords and certain armors have been like Japanese inspired, so there's some Eastern flair there. But at least in the motif, it's always been aesthetically kind of like Western, at least from my perspective. But Rise, definitely Eastern. And like I said, I'm like it's cool. Like I said, 3U was my favorite, so I'm just down with that. But the aesthetic, dope. The inclusion of Palamutes, awesome. The characters, they're cool. Instead of eating food, you eat dango before your missions. The characters there, I'll talk about the characters kind of here, but I'm kind of like here or there on them. I mean, they got pretty cute designs, but they look Japanese. Like it's like, okay, all around, it's a Japanese game, and it's really cool. Kimura Village as the backdrop, it's cool. It's nothing mind blowing. I mean, no Monster Hunter main locale really is. Even in World, the main towns that they were big, they were vibrant, but they looked big, but it was really like nothing really there. Besides, where you ate, besides where you ate, your room, the smithy, and the hub, and wherever the fuck the farm is, it's not really that big. So it's like in the trailers it looked more expansive than it is, but I'm not gonna just say, oh, it's bad because of that. Nah, it serves its purpose. That's pretty much it. Like, it serves its purpose. Like I said, the art design, it's vibrant, it's colorful, it looks dope. Like, that's why I kind of wish there was a little bit more to it. Because you can wire bug and everything while you're in the hub, or while you're in the town, but it's like, okay, you can go on some buildings and you can like the steelworks, that big tower, you can go there, but it's really rather limiting, honestly. And there are only like a few NPCs. There's a Dango girl, there's Master Itsuchi, the guild master, and the other quest maiden in the hub. Outside you have the hub maiden, the guy who runs the shop, Master Fugen, and then you got a couple other guys who give you a quest. But there's like really NPCs in buildings that don't go anywhere. It's limiting. I'm not gonna dock it. It's like that's how Monster Hunter's always been. Like, it's like I'm not gonna dock it. Like, oh man. But I did think you were gonna get the Kimura Village was gonna be a little bit more open, similar to how World and everything is, because pretty much this is Monster Hunter World. Oh my god, Monster Hunter World was base 5, and Iceborne was 5G, and this is like 5. This is like their 5 portable. This is Monster Hunter 5 portable, pretty much. And I thought it was gonna take after that, but everything looks great. The characters have their own personalities. It's Monster Hunter Rise, and it looks great. Like I said, the graphics, the art design, it looks Japanese. The aesthetic of it, you feel like a fucking ninja. That's just how it is. The environments, let's talk about them themselves. They are pretty cool for the most part. Like, let me see. We have the Shrine Ruins, which is like a shrine, a desolate shrine, or a desiccated shrine, or not desiccated, dilapidated, a dilapidated shrine, and like the forest the forest and like little mountains around it. It's cool. They're definitely picking up where World left off with open maps, elevation. Not too much to say about it. It's like the basic. It's like D Island. It's like how the D Island, the deserted island for Monster Hunter 3 was for Monster Hunter 3. The ancestral step for Monster Hunter 4. The ancestral step, for Monster Hunter 4, or even the ancient forest for World. It's like the base. It's like the base area. It's like the forward little forest-ish area. All right, and then from there we have the returning map, the Flooded Forest, which has been redone. I can tell where they were like, okay, the old Flooded Forest. This was definitely modeled after the old Flooded Forest, but it's definitely its own place, and I like it. Like, I want to see like more of this. Like, I love some of the old boards, like the deserted island. We got new tundra, we got new desert. But yeah, like the forlorn arena, the decaying sea. Like, I would like to see more of this. Like, hey, we're gonna take this old map and we're gonna update it. Like, I like seeing that. I really do. And it's cool. It's a cool board. Like, nothing to say about it. We got that big ass pyramid. You got stuff that you can unlock by using bombs. Got some nice links. Not some nice link. It has a nice size to it. Phrasing, but it's really cool. The desert. Funny enough, the desert's my favorite. I just like desert areas, even though I live in the south and I'm surrounded by forest. But yeah, I like the desert. It's cool. Like, it's cool. Like, I don't really have anything to say about the boards. They serve, or levels or maps, or however you choose to address them. I call them boards. They serve their purpose, and they look nice. Like I said, all of the boards, including the red stronghold and the final area where you fight the final boss, all look great. Nothing really to say about it. They all look like, and that's one thing I do appreciate is once you've done this for a while, you notice that no matter how big a map is, it always feels kind of small. But they did do their due diligence with the Frost Isles and how it's not strictly just a frozen tundra. They added there's water there, and they get again the elevation. There's that old ship. There's that giant skeleton. So they've done enough to ensure that you have a nice big area to hunt in. Now, I will say that at least so far for all of the camps, I've only seen the main camp and then 2 sub camps. And I think in World, all of the maps had 5. So I think technically these levels are smaller, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, it'd be dope if they could in the G rank expansion they could make them bigger. Like that, that'd be really cool. But yet again, we'll just have to wait and see about that. But as far as that, all of the maps look good. Let me see. Next up, we have the monsters themselves. Like I said, I'm going to talk about spoilers, but that's going to be later, because I'm gonna save the story itself for the final portion. As far as the monsters, I think we got 33 monsters, and there's a complaint I have there, but we're going to get into that, like I said, later. All the monsters look great. The models look dope. The new monsters are cool. Agnesam, Gosrag, Magnamalo, or Magnamalo, as Fugan would say. Who else? Almadron's fucking dope. Baishatin's cool. Somnican, Rakanakadaki, the Elder Dragons. Because, again, kinda spoilery, but not really. There are only 2 Elder Dragons in this game. At least so far, there are only 2 Elder Dragons. But yeah, but besides that, every other monster are like imported from World. And not just World, but also Generations Ultimate. We got Mizutsune, another member of the Fated Four, like Glavenus, who was in who was brought over in Iceborne, which is really cool. But yeah, we got like Puke, like all the models look good. Like you can't honestly say without being like super techie, going in counting pixels, and you like if you were just like playing the game and you weren't like just really like if you weren't going over the game with a fine-tooth comb, you're not gonna notice like, oh, this doesn't look good. You have to really like, you damn near have to data mine the game and comb through everything to say, oh, this game doesn't look as good, like, or the models don't look as good. They look fine. Like I said, there's that one thing I've heard about particle effects, but that's really it. They all look great. And one thing I didn't like about World was kind of like, let me see. One thing I used to like about Monster Hunter, and I'll feed back into the why I don't like about World. The monster introduction videos, we called them apologies, because pretty much you'd see, it's like whenever you got to the area, like the first time you fought a monster, when you got to the area it was in, it'll cut to a cutscene, and you for the most part wouldn't be involved. You would just see it'd be like watching a little mini nature documentary about the monster. Like for Lagiacris, you would like it, in Monster Hunter 3 when you first meet it. You first meet it, it's underwater and it kind of like chases you out. But when you first fight, when you are tasked to fight it for the first time, it's in the middle of the D Isle where there's like a little bit of water everywhere and there's a little bit of dry land. Like the water is probably only like 2 or 3 feet, and there's that waterway that goes out to the sea part of the deserted island. You'd see Lagiacris sunbathing. For Barioth, which Monster Hunter 3 was the first game it appeared in, you'd see it hunting Popo. Hell, you'd even see monsters fighting, or you just see like monsters interacting with the environment, and you know, that's all you got. Now that I still prefer, but in this game you get like a poem, like the narrator is narrating a poem, and you see the monster interacting with its environment, and I still like that. It's the mid ground for this game. It's a compromise. Like, yeah, because I think maybe I was the one who felt like that. Like, it's like every time it's like, oh my god, why does it have to show me interacting with the monster? I want to see the monster in its natural environment. I want to see it just doing it. Like, does it hunt? Does it feed? Does it do little goofy shit? Kind of like fucking, who was that? Who used to just do goofy shit? There was a monster. I think it was like Lagambi or even Arzaros, like hunting for honey, like being kind of goofy. It's like, okay, how does this monster interact with this environment? This is like this is truly the compromise, because because he or she will say the poem, and you know, and it'll be and the cool thing is the screen, and like I said, if you played the game, you've seen this, or saw it during the trailers. It'll have like this old Japanese movie like kind of filter over it, and it's really cool. Like, you can like yet again, the monster is interacting with its environment. The monster is being itself, but still you get to learn a little bit about the monster. I think it's cool. It's got the little, I think it's like a shimasen. It's a Japanese banjo, if you don't know. I believe that's what it is. And you know, it's got that little thing going over it, kind of set the mood. And then you have the monster's name and its title, like Lord of Thunder. I think it's like Slammer or something. Like, look, all the monsters have names. The Wandering Lady, Rakanakadaki, things like that. And I think that's really cool. Hold on, I just had a thought. Let's talk about that. How about the monsters? Well, as far as like design choices, I like how at least a little bit they were able to kind of break away from World's mold, because we had no we had like 2 Piscine Wyverns, but most of the monsters in world had like a similar body shape. And I like that we're now getting Leviathans. I think we got a couple more Piscine Wyverns and shit. So that's really cool. And what else? Wire bug I'll talk about in mechanics, which I might do next. I'm trying to think, like before I get off this, I just have a thought. And I'll save like some of like my more negative complaining shit towards the end. But without further ado, let's get into some of the mechanical changes. All the weapons look nice. Well, at least all the weapons I use 4 weapons with the potential for 6. I gotta learn dual blades and longsword, but sword and shield, charge blade, hunting horn, and bow are my main 4. But yeah, all the weapons that I've used, they feel great. So the fluid motion, everything from world carry over. And also mechanically, well, let me just go ahead and say this right quick before I get back into the weapons. Mechanically, I like how, like I said, this game, one thing I can say about this game, it's a really big compromise. This game is truly the intersection between what World wants to do with Monster Hunter and how Monster Hunter was. Because what they did was, in World, you could play everything together. In Rise, they go back to the old system. You have to do the village quests alone and the hub quests together. So it's like, okay, you pretty much, you can't get carried. You do have to learn this game at some point. You can't just do everything together. Now you can technically never do the village quest, which that's personal choice. Not one that I would make, but that's personal choice. But yeah, that's something that you can do. So yeah, they brought that back, which is cool. So yeah. So if you felt like you got carried in Monster Hunter World, that doesn't necessarily carry over. But yeah, the weapons look great. They feel great. I like the designs. Now, for some of the monsters who were in World, you do see those design philosophies kind of come back, like Juratotus and who else? Juratotus, Pookie, Tobikadachi, like their weapons look how they did in World, but it looks like a lot of the other weapons, they're going back to their old designs. So hopefully they do add like Lavinus or some of the other monsters in the world whose weapons didn't look good, who had weapons that looked good, but then when they brought them over, they changed them. Like for whatever reason, why they changed Lavinus to Sword and Shield is beyond me, but that's another story. But hopefully if they bring Lavinus back eventually, his weapons will be cool again. So, but yeah, weapons feel great. They've added new moves. Mechanically, there's switch skills. Like with the sword and shield, you normally have the advancing thrust, or the advancing strike, however it's called. You press X and A, and you kind of lunge as you're, attacking. Or one that I've been using has been the advancing slide, where you actually slide. So let's say a monster's charging towards you with the advancing slash. That's what's called. You would actually get hit by the monster, but with the slides that you actually do get on the ground and slide, you could potentially slide under the monster as it's coming towards you. And all weapons have that. Like there are 2 switch skills. There's like, you have 2 slots, so you can use whatever you want. Now for the slots, they are different. Like you can't, like for slot 1, if you have skill A, B, and C, and then for slot 2 you have D, E, F. You can't have skill A and then skill B. You have to be A and D, A and E, so on and so forth. But they do switch up your playstyle enough to where you be able to do different types of damage. Because instead of doing my normal shield bash combo, I could do one where after I do my shield bash, it's called the drill combo. I then pierce the enemy with my sword and pull it out, and it does damage. So more piercing damage or cutting damage rather than a full stun damage that I would normally do with my shield. But all the weapons have it. Sword chill's been the main thing I've been sticking to, so I have to go and look at the other switch skills for the weapons that I use. But, that would be at a later time. But for the most part, at least for my main weapon, the weapon I use the most, I like it. And I've seen, that with whatever switch skill that is for the Gunlands, where they pretty much turn you into Valstrax from Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, is fucking ridiculous. As far as mechanics, the big one this time is the wire bug. I know with the Slinger and the Clutch Claw from Monster Hunter World, they really wanted to dumb that down, because that was getting a little overpowered. At least from what I heard people say. I didn't think so, because I really didn't like using it all that much. But still, that's there. It's cool. And I think they found a way to balance it, because you would think being able to just, zip across the map, or not even just like traversal, but around the monster, would be overpowered. It's not. Because you get 2 bugs, and you can get a third, but I don't think you can permanently get a third. And I don't know how long. I don't know if there are probably skills to where you can decrease the amount of time that it takes to actually be able to use your bugs again. But yeah, I think they struck a good balance, because it makes getting out of the way and shit easier. But because of how cool it is, you may have a tendency to try to sauce on a monster, use up your wire bugs, and then it's like, oh shit, and get your shit kicked in. But yeah, the wire bugs are really cool. It makes you feel like a goddamn ninja. It's cool, it's really cool. And then the silk bind moves, and with the wire bug, every weapon has silk bind moves where you can do attacks that will, even though you may not be up in the air or jumping off something and hitting the monster, you do mounting damage, which takes us directly into mounts. Okay, I'm still kind of on the fence about this. I remember when mounting was first introduced in Monster Hunter 4U. If you attack the person who was mounting, if you attack the monster while it was mounted, it would knock the person off. It was a bad thing. But then in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, and Generations, that's where we have what we had was used to be the modern mounting system. If you attacked a monster while it was mounted, you'd help the person who was, on it. Now they've changed it up to where the mounting is the wyvern ride. What happens is you do a certain amount of mounting damage, and then the first person to attack the monster will mount them, and they can control the monster. Now, I will admit, it's fun. Okay, you can do one of 2 things. You can either just wall bash the monster, kind of like how we used to do the Clutch Claw in Iceborne. When they introduced that, Clutch Claw, you pretty much bash the monster's head against the wall. Except this time, you can do it 3 times if you know what you're doing. You can do it once, you can do it 3 times. You can bash, press B at the right time, get your footing back, bash, get again, get your footing back, bash. Or if you have a third wire bug, bash it again, and then the monster will be stuck. And that's the cool thing, it won't just fall, it'll be caught up in the wires, and it'll be kind of be anchored to the ground. So, if, let's say, a monster's sitting there and it attacks you, and let's say you have a sliver of health left. If you start running away, the monster can't just go after you. It'll be I saw a Tigrex last night actually try to jump after somebody, try to do a charge, but it was stuck to the ground, so it was pretty much running in place, which makes it good for okay, this motherfucker's moving too much. Let's keep that in check. Or you can control the monsters. You can pretty much be a puppet master. I have gone on times where I have beat the dog or crap out of a monster with another monster, and the good thing about that is when you do that, it helps you get materials. So yeah, even though I didn't like it at first, it was beneficial to me to learn the system. I think I still prefer the old writing more. I don't know. I just got used to it, and I'm the type of person, even with my sword and shield, I do a lot of mounting damage, and I mount monsters a lot. So, and it's one of those preference things. I don't hate it, don't absolutely love it. I wish we had the option, but it's there and it's fun. It's like I said, I'm not completely sold on it, but it is not a bad time. You have not lived until you have beat a monster monster with another monster. Like until you have used Pookie Pookie to beat the hell out of a Zenogre, you haven't lived. It's good for your soul. All right, let me see mechanically. Okay. Now, part of the big, draw of this game was the new Rampage system, which is supposed to be like the in-game thing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna keep this short. I don't like Rampages. I don't. I tolerate them because they're in the game and you technically do need to do them. But man, it feels confining. Like, I don't mind fighting in arenas. Like, hey, use your ballistas. Hell, because even in like other games, like especially for you'd fight Elder Dragons in the city, where the arena was and whatnot. Gagmazios, how you fought him. And I don't mind it, but it feels so. I don't know. I feel confined when I do it. Who knows? It might just be my thing. And the fact that there's an important fight that's locked to a rampage, it's like, it seems unnecessary. It seems contrived to me. It's like, this is really nothing. Especially when it comes to like certain like monsters can only be fought in rampages. Like one of the Elder Dragons can only be fought in a rampage, and then the Apex monsters can only be fought in a rampage. It's like, dude, like this rampage you have to fight way more monsters, and yet again, the monsters, they're not full powered monsters. They have their health drastically reduced. But still, I have to fight more shit than I would like. And I'm confined to this area. And then it's pretty much a tower defense. And I'm like, and yet again, we've had this before. With Lao Shenlong, with who else? Jin Moran, Darin Moran, even Zora Magdaros, which I hated in Monster Hunter World. I hated that shit with a burning passion. But I don't know. It might just be a me thing, because we've always had these structured fights. But I don't know. Something about this it bothers me. I think it's the extra monsters. It's like, so in order to fight Apex, whatever, or to fight this Elder Dragon, I have to fight all y'all motherfuckers. And I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like I said, I guess with those other fights, it was like I didn't have to fight, Great Jaggy, Lagia Chris, Nagargawa to fight Jin Moran. It was like, okay, it's like kind of an arena-like fight, but I am just fighting Jin. It's a full fight. So I can deal with that, because even the Elder Dragon, who you fight him, he's like, because there are always like 3 hordes. It's like, this isn't a full fight. It's not a full fight, and it kind of bothers me. And I guess it kind of it's like World. Like certain fights were scripted. Because back in the day, when it came to Elder Dragons, you would either kill them or they would run. That was it. Like they would run from you. But yeah, it's just I don't like it. Like it doesn't feel like a full fight. It doesn't feel like I'm finished. It feels like kind of like when Kulf's Wrath first came out. We used to break her horns, but it's like we could never kill her until much later. And I guess that's my thing. It's like, why are we doing this? So I guess probably either when the new ending comes out, when the ending comes out, or when what else? Or when the ending comes out, or when the G-Rank expansion comes out, we'll finally be able to kill them. Because this, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's really frustrating. At least to me, or my mind could change, but at least right now, 3 weeks out in the moment, it's frustrating, man. And also, off that topic, subquests. We no longer have subquests like specific things like, oh, break a monster's head, cut off the tail, or anything like that. You have the optional subquests, which are a great way to grind like certain materials and armor spheres. Like, I love that. I love that you can pick the ones you want to do. Like you're like if a quest has a subquest that you don't want to do, as a subquest that you don't want to do, you can only choose. Because mostly I just do like the gathering ones, pick up monster materials, slay, cap, and even I've started doing the wyvern riding and the like, you know, go to a specific, do a certain number of quests at a specific map. But yeah, that's cool. Like, you get to choose your own subquests, and I am completely fine with that because they are very rewarding and they're very easy to do. Okay. Now, spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. I'm about to talk about the story and some negatives. Well, some story stuff, which is going to be primarily negative, and some my negatives of the game. So, which I've already kind of talked about throughout this. There's gonna be some more negative stuff, but I'm gonna go. But like, look, spoilers. Proceed at your own risk. I think, like, I'm gonna have a timestamp to when I get done with the story spoilers, and then I'm gonna go into my negatives. Yeah, okay, that's how we're gonna roll with this. I'm gonna talk about the story. I'm gonna pretty much summarize the story really quickly, and then I'm gonna go into my negative. I'm gonna talk about it, and then I'm gonna go into my negatives of the game, like proper, and give my final thoughts. So I'm gonna have the timestamp on screen. If you don't want to know, because I know, like, even I watched a Gaijin Hunter video earlier today. He's like, he's not posting spoilers for like another 2 months. I'm not doing that. I'm going to talk about it, but I'm going to warn you at least. So like I said, the timestamp should be on the screen, so you know. Okay? Yet again, this is your last chance. I'm saying names. I'm probably going to show footage. So that's on you. That's on you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're talking story. Okay. Ever since its inception, Monster Hunter's never been a really story-driven game, like a cinematic, narrative or some shit. It's never been that. It's always been you're a hunter, hunt monsters, kill the final boss, and just, blah, 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 blah. That was pretty much it. Pretty much the things will get better, things will get worse, as you go up in the village quest or the hub quests. That's pretty much it. Monster Hunter's never been a story about, cutscenes like this person's changing, that person's changing, your worldview changing, or some other shit like that. Like, they started trying to do that in Monster Hunter 4U. You could see it kind of really culminate in the world, and now they're continuing that. Like, Monster Hunter is a what the fuck's a story of the game. Like I said, you hunt monsters. We never needed a deep and complex story. They're trying some like I'll give credit where credit's due. I'm not gonna say a story is necessarily bad per se, but there is a glaring problem. But here, I'm gonna go ahead and start summarizing the story. Then I'm gonna talk about it. Okay, like every other Monster Hunter game, you're a new hunter, in the village, and at least in this particular case, there's something going on. Every so often, I think like every 50 years or so, there is an event called the Rampage, where a bunch of monsters will attack Komora Village for unknown reasons. Now, in this, which is where the Rampage mechanic comes in. Which is where the Rampage mechanic comes in. So pretty much, you're going to be you're investigating as you're hunting. So it's like, oh, this monster's acting up, these monsters are acting up, and even within the quest descriptions, you can kind of tell. It's like, hey, this monster doesn't normally act like this. What's happening? You do your key quests, you keep leveling up until eventually, like I said, everybody's convinced that it's Magnum Malo who's the problem. After you take Magnum Malo down, there's then a cutscene where you one of the quest maidens, I believe it's Kinoa or Minoa. Look, there are two quest ladies. They're twins. I can't be bothered right now. But that's the thing. That's the thing. So, the guild master, the local guild master, Master Fukin. So y'all like, yeah, we're done. That should end it. And that's when you meet the first Elder Dragon, Wind Serpent Ibushi, who resonates with the corresponding quest maiden, and he says that he's looking for his queen. Now, okay, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'm just not sure. Cause now I know where this comes from. If you've ever seen like some of the older Godzilla movies, or even the King of the Monsters, like Mothra. Mothra's folks, they kind of resonate with Mothra, and she can talk through them. So that's kind of where this is coming from. I'm on the fence. It doesn't necessarily bother me, but I'm like, we got talking monsters now. I don't know. I just don't. But this brings me into the rampage. Wind Serpent Ibushi can only be fought in a rampage, and bam. And once you beat him, then you have to get to 7-star. I think he's fought like 5-star. Okay, that's kind of my issue. Like, there are points in this game where there's really no story. I mean, it's not necessarily the most horrible thing in the world, but it's like the whole final act is like kind of compartmentalized into just high rank. Like there's like with at least like, let's say Monster Hunter 3, Monster Hunter game I know the best, is like to end like the earthquakes. They originally think it's Lagiacrus. Kill Lagiacrus, that's not it. It keeps happening, and you eventually stumble upon the Sadeas. And then once Sadeas is done for, high rank. I know the story keeps going from there. And at least in the online, there's Jin Moran, and then there's the story with Dire Morales, another Black Dragon. Y'all don't know about him. But anyway, so I'm trying not to get too like lost in my thoughts. Like, it's not necessarily a negative, but it's like the story is so spread out, and that's how it's that's kind of how it has been in some cases. I think the other games did it better, especially World. I'll give it to it. The story was more so spread out. It was mixed in with the exploration of the new continent. It was mixed in with the Elder Dragons. But yeah. So then from 5-star until you get to 7-star, until you finish 7-star, you fight Wind Serpent. It's Queen, Thunder Serpent Nargo, which is a pretty dope fight. Not a bad fight at all. Pretty cool monster, cool attacks. And from there, stupid story beat number 1. Instead of the dragon just flying the fuck away, it falls through a hole. We don't chase it. We pretty much take old girls who, cause one of the quest maidens, she resonates with Ibushi. The other one resonates with Thunder Serpent Nargwa. So instead of us going after this thing and just making sure it's dead, she just says, it's not resonating anymore. I can't feel it. It's gone. So instead of us like going down there and checking for ourselves, we just take her word for it. And lo and behold, it's not dead. So while there's a party going on in your honor, you go outside and you see that both of the quest maidens are sitting there as they're resonating with the monsters, saying something about offspring. So pretty much, the Elder Dragons were trying to get together so they could mate and have a baby. And for what it's looking like, the baby will be the final boss. Okay, and that's the end of what we have so far for Monster Hunter Rise. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, now, without going into the story, yet again, this, if you're just now tuning back in, this is the timestamp. This is right here is the timestamp where you should come back. This game is undone. It's not a bad game. It's very fun. But this game is undone. This game is not finished. We have 33 monsters, which, yet again, it's the base game of a Monster Hunter game. And at least when we make it a G-Rank expansion, we're not going to have to buy another total game and start over again. But this game is not finished. It's not a bad game. It's not a broken game. But it's not finished. Pretty much. And I mentioned in my final thoughts what the IGN guy was saying about the game, you know, ending on a cliffhanger. It's like, bruh, there's no final boss. You can tell from the way the story is set up. To put it equivocally to World, we pretty much fought 2 out of the 3 Elder Dragons. Because, you know, in World, you get to like 5, I think you get like 5-star or whatever, and then you keep going. And once you get to a certain point, right before the final boss, you have 3 Elder Dragons to fight. You have Teostra, Kushladora, Valhazak, then you fight Xeno'jiiva. So it's looking like there's no true final boss in this game. And when Capcom was talking about a new ending, no. They were talking about an ending. Because with Thunder Serpent Narwa, there are no credits. The game's not done. And you can tell, like I said, with what I said about the story, I'm not going to repeat it here, because if you skip past that, hey, I don't want to spoil you if you don't want to be spoiled. But this game ain't done. So that's why, earlier I was talking about I didn't pay full price for the game. This is why. I had a feeling that this game wasn't done. Like I said, I only paid $10 less. But at least I can say I did not pay full price for Monster Hunter Rise. Now, that's the most egregious thing I think the game does. Like, there's a lot. People's like, there's a lack of an end game. Yeah, I know. There's no end game. There's none. We're not done with the game yet. There can't be an end game. And like I said, the ending, because I thought the ending was coming at the end of April, like sometime this week or next week. Well, this upcoming week or next, or the week after that. No, we're getting new monsters and they're unlocking the Hunter rank cap. But the ending, which is 3.0, there's 2.0, which we're waiting for in like I said, next week or the week after. But then there is 3.0, which is supposed to be the ending, which they haven't said when that's coming. So yeah. That could be June, that could be July, that could be October, we don't know. But Monster Hunter Rise, I honestly and truthfully believe the most egregious thing it does is to be an unfinished game. I think Capcom kind of overshot their, they overestimated their ability to get this game done. And when they found out they couldn't, they just released it as is. Look, I don't know how, like, we all know the game industry with crunch and things like that can be very stressful, so I'm not going to go say what I kind of think, because I'm trying to have a little empathy and trying to understand what they're going through. But at the same token in time, they released an unfinished product, and that's not something I could get behind. Like, even with World, like after World came out, I think after the summer, it's when they started doing the arc-tempered monsters. For high rank, the arc-tempered monsters. That's when I kind of fell off, because it was like, okay, we're like, yet again, I hunted some of the arc-tempered monsters and shit. I hunted them all the high rank ones. But I always felt like this, yeah, we're getting quote unquote better equipment, but we're also not getting everything that we should be getting. That's why, like, I kind of wished I'd have waited for that one. I was like, man, damn, I should have just waited for Iceborne to come out, and I could have just did that. Just played the entire game the whole way through. But yeah, that is the most egregious thing this game does. It's not finished. It's not bad in its current state. But I think if they'd have pushed the game back and put 3.0 on the cartridge, I think I can honestly say this was a good Monster Hunter game. It's not bad. Look, I can give it a middle of the road. It's like, it's It's not necessarily great. It can't be. It's unfinished. Like even with Monster Hunter Try, like I always compare World to Try. They're half the game. They don't have G rank in them. Even though, yeah, you could say like World's better. Not really. It's still an unfinished product. It does a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff, does a lot of stuff right. But it's not a complete version of the game. And with this, it's less than the complete version of the game. It's actually unfinished. We have about, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna just be a buck about it. We have, in my opinion, I'd say what we have for the game right now is about 45%. 45 to 50% of the game. I'm gonna say that right now. They got to the halfway point. It was like, okay, that's good enough, release it. And I don't like that. I really don't like that. I feel disrespected. Like, as a consumer, yet again, I know what they're going through. So I'm expressing my frustrations. I'm expressing my frustrations, but trying to be respectful about it. I could rant, I could rave, I could cuss, but honestly, this game should have been delayed. Like, that's how I feel. This game should have been delayed because it's not done. You charge us full price for an unfinished product. And that's just not something I can abide. Yeah, I know I'm being silent, but I'm being silent on purpose, just to let that thought breathe. Monster Hunter Rise, as of April 17th, as of the game that they released, is an unfinished product. And I think that is horrible. But, like I said, that's the worst thing the game does. Another kind of negative that I have is that a lot of the monsters are imported from World. Now, yet again, we have monsters like Rathian, Rathlos, Diablos, Zenogre, and other monsters who didn't first appear in World. I mean, they took them from there, as in, like, they probably used that model data to go ahead and push that here. Not a bad thing, but just to let you know, the new monsters are in the minority. They're the two Elder Dragons. There's Gosarag, Magnamalo, Almadron. That's 5. Then you have... I'm speaking purely new. Hold on. Who else? There's Baishaten, Somnican. Already said the 2 Elders. Already said Gosarag. Damn, I think that might be it. Oh, Aknasam, the Great Izuchi. Okay, I knew I was forgetting something. Tetranodon. Okay, so about a third. But what I mean is, because yet again, there are other monsters who weren't in World, like Mizutsune, who was Generations Ultimate. And then there's Volvidon, who hasn't been in the Monster Hunter game since Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. But it's definitely the old monsters outweigh the new ones. I wish there had been a couple of newer monsters, which we were potentially getting, because yet again, the game's unfinished. Like I said we got about 45 to 50% of what's going to be the full Rise, potentially less, depending on what we get. I don't count Apexes. I try to count I try to count. I just don't count Apexes. I did what's the Apex? There's nothing different about an Apex monster. There's nothing different about it. It's the same monster, just beefed it up. Which you could say is the same for high rank and G rank. But yeah. But overall, I'd say it's positive. But Monster Hunter Rise does do some pretty egregious shit that I can't fuck with. Like I said, to tell the story how I got the game. I got off work. I went to the Best Buy that's by my job. They didn't have it. I looked online and there was a Target that had it. I went there, didn't know when they were gonna pull it out of the back and actually give it to me. Because when you order online, you can't just go back to the back and pull it off the shelf. You actually have to wait till they process it, bring it from the back, put it in a bag, and give it to you. So then, and for some reason, traffic was extra thick. Like I had to go farther out from where my job is, while my girls wait for me in my house. So I had to. So eventually said, "Fuck it," canceled the order. It was like I don't want to pay full price for it. So eventually I had, and on top of that, let me go back a couple hours. I asked my girlfriend if she was coming from her house to my house. Stopped by one of the local Walmarts to go ahead and see if they had it. Because I was gonna have her get it for me, just cash up her the money. She didn't. Well, they didn't have it at that Walmart. So I come home and I'm going back and forth because, like I said, when I heard the IGN reviewer, yet again, take it with a grain of salt if you want to, but I was like, man, I could just buy it digitally, but I kind of want a physical copy and I don't want to pay full price. Luckily, the other Walmart that is in my area had it, and I ordered it, and the next morning was ready for pickup. And I was able to get it that way. Yet again, $10 off. Not a lot. Because honestly, I think this game was worth about $29.99 or $39.99 $34.99 at most. It wasn't worth $60. It just isn't. Not its current form. But yeah. But I love I dig the aesthetic. I dig the monsters. I wish they'd done more. And also, of course, if you've been on my channel, you know I made a predictions video or a wants video of the monsters that I wanted. Now they did listen to a certain degree because we got more Leviathans and more monsters like that. But at the same token of time, it's we kind of did lean on brute wyverns, fang wyverns, flying wyverns, and it's there's so much more to Monster Hunter than that. I mean, we got a spider. We got a spider, so I'll give him that. Oh, Rock and Nakadaki. Okay, that's 11 that I'm coming off the top of my head. So that's 11 monsters, 11 new monsters who've never been in any other Monster Hunter game. So I think it's exactly 1/3. But yeah, I've rambled on long enough. This has been your boy the D. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for everything that you do. If you like what you heard, definitely leave a like, share it with your friends, comment. If you want to hear more, subscribe. I talk about anime, I talk about Monster Hunter, I talk about pretty much whatever the fuck I want to talk about. Next video after this one's going to be one about anime movies. Because we got a lot of anime movie news lately, and I think the paradigm for anime movies is going to be shaken up. But if you want to hear more about that, definitely hit your boy up, the D, and I got my Linktree in the description below. If you want to catch me on my Twitch, my Twitter, which I'm trying to get a little bit more active there. But without further ado, this has been your boy the D, signing out. Holla.